Okay, so today our little talk is across the street from Jewish temple here, progressive modern Jewish temple. We don't mean to be saying or implying that they are necessarily supporting what we're going to present in this paper, but because we're drawing from the book of Numbers, the Jewish Old Testament as our resource information, we thought we would, and because the Jewish folks, of course, believe in God, they're our brothers, so we're having our little talks in different little places. So, what we want to talk about today is a recent, well, not so recent, actually it was discovered in 1936, I believe, by a woman named Sarah Benet. She was reading in the book of Numbers, I don't know right where, but it's where the actual verse, it's towards the end of the book of Numbers, I believe, maybe the 29th chapter, where God tells Moses to make this holy anointing oil. And if my memory serves me well, he says to take about 6 liters of very fine, precious olive oil by the shekel, which was the Jewish measurement at the time, so much cinnamon, good quality cinnamon, so much liquid myrrh, maybe a few other spices that are universally known as to be used in incenses offered to God and like that. And then there was mention of some little chamas, C-A-M-A-S or C-A-M-M-A-S plant. And the woman tried to figure out what's going on here. There's all these references to this very excellent, costly olive oil and myrrh and cinnamon. And so why is God telling them just put this useless weed, basically, in with all these other ingredients? So she did some research, and she found out, according to a paper that I found on the website called Thinking Baptists, and they're pretty cute kids, they said that for those that don't think that that is an oxymoron, so this article that's on there called the Holy Anointing Oil, this woman does the research and she finds out that before such and such a date, there were actually different words being used in the book of Numbers to describe that particular questionable ingredient. Not that there was a bad translation, not that there was a mistranslation or something like that, but actually the word had been changed. In the Aramaic and the Hebrew Bible, previous to the change, the words can be translated different ways, but the major modern one that's being used is K-A-N-N-A-B-U-S, which is almost exactly like K-A-N-N-A-B-I-S, cannabis. God told Moses to put 9.5 pounds of flowering. There's 2 different kinds of marijuana, basically. One's called a sativa strain, and the other one is called an indica strain. The indica strain that grows in the Middle East is much stronger than the one that grows in America. And 9.5 pounds of this were to be put in this 6 liters of oil with this other costly ingredients. And the priests and the king then were to take it. In the center of the Jewish temple was the Holy of Holies, the most holy place where only the one priest, the high priest, could enter in once a year, if my memory serves me well. I'm not an expert on Jewish religion. But around that was the holies, the next holiest place in all of Judaism. The priests and the kings were to take this oil and put it in censers and smoke the room, smoke it the room till it was smoky, put the oil on the altar, and also drench their bodies in the oil and wait to hear some inspiration from God. This is the meaning of sacrament, using something as sacrament, something that God has ordained that will open a bridge or thin the what might be called the cosmic appertition between this world and the other world, to thin that out and let mankind be pulled by that experience closer to God, or at a certain point actually during that experience actually experience different levels of God through prayer and meditation and other offering of oneself in sacrament, your body in service type sacrament, an offering to God, again, that thins the offering, that thins the person that's doing the offering. It thins the blockages between us and God and allows that person to experience a closer relationship if it's psychoactive substance induced like cannabis, our modern day marijuana, or in the instance of the American Indians who use peyote. They are guaranteed, as now we've established the fact that there is specific reference in the Bible to cannabis use, that is also established as a sacrament. As late as, I believe, 2008, some Brazilian folks, there was a gentleman, if my memory serves me well, who was using this particular psychoactive tea that's part of their particular religion in Brazil in a prison in New Mexico, and he was arrested for that, and he won the right, I believe, to use his substance in prison, and his tribe or his religion the right to import this particular tea. It's called, the Religious Reformation Act, or I believe like that. So similarly, just like Indians can use peyote to induce this experience in their religion that thins, that turns on this energy in the mind and the body, that thins a person's connection with God, that thins the obstacles so that one can perceive God a little better. These Brazilian folks, and now a much less potent psychoactive substance that does the same thing, it is a sacrament, should be able to, by law, the laws are already in place. Our constitutional religious rights are being violated by the police, and there are many thousands, if not tens of thousands, and maybe hundreds of thousands of people out in America who feel this way about cannabis. When they smoke it, they feel peaceful. They feel drawn into a kinder, more aware experience that has led many people actually to start meditating and to start other transformational processes as a result of finding out that this peace is available within them if they just learn these different methods called meditation and transpersonal analysis, dream analysis, rebirthing, different techniques to remove these unconscious blocks that are the partition in our own mind between us and God that keeps us from having a more fulfilled experience. So we feel again that this is a constitutional states' rights issue, that for 30-some years, and I've had this church, a church for since 1995, so that's 17 years, that our constitutional rights have been violated by the United States government. We feel that everybody that's in jail at this time or facing a marijuana or has on probation or has been busted for marijuana, that a citizens group of individuals should be allowed to investigate the spiritual statements and qualities and disposition of a person that's in jail, and if it's found that they considered the use of marijuana, their religious right, that it was bringing them close, that they should be released, their records should be expunged, and anybody that's ever been arrested, they can be found out. Because, quite frankly, 1936, somebody's known about this. We understand from doing research that it was DuPont and Goodyear and people like that that wanted to produce chemically all of the different products that come out of hemp, newspaper from trees instead of hemp. But now we need to save our trees. So growing hemp will replace newspaper. It makes a lot of sense that DuPont and Goodyear should sacrifice a little now for us so that we can make some money and have our spiritual rights and have the whole industry that would be opened up in the form of quality human usable protein in the seeds, hemp for clothing and for paper, which most people know. Then there's what's called omega 3, 6, and 9 oils, also in the seeds, that are very important and relatively expensive for proper health. And there'll probably be other things that will be discovered that once research is allowed to open. And this will create a whole economy for the state of Oregon and the whole America, actually, but at least the states that have voted that they should have medical marijuana. And so again, we started to say that we think this is a states' rights issue. This is much bigger than marijuana. A whole country, a whole world has been fooled by somebody for some reason of putting a harmless little drug on the same federal category as heroin. The fact that somebody is fooling us is the real issue. Who is fooling us, and for what reason? And what other areas are they fooling us in? The people that we are trusting to guide us into helping us, healthy us, a good, prosperous life, are really just scamming us to death? Is that what's happening? So let's get on the Constitution. Let's follow the Constitution, Americans, and find out what happens. Let's get back to the Constitution. So many federal laws are violating the Constitution, like this one. But we can all start with this one. And thanks a lot.